Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive.
Ah.
Today we're diving into Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life.
Oh, this is a good one.
I think this will be interesting. You guys sent in some excerpts from this book. And, I mean, this is, it's kind of a guide to navigating the complexities of modern life.
Absolutely.
Which I think we all could use a little bit of help with, especially these days.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, who couldn't use some guidance?
So we're going to kind of extract some of those, golden nuggets of wisdom, those aha moments that maybe make you rethink things.
Yeah, kind of like distilling the essence of Peterson's thinking.
Right.
And then, I can add on some, extra analysis, see if we can really help people grasp these ideas.
Yeah. Okay, so let's jump right in. Peterson, I got to say, he doesn't shy away from bold statements.
No, he doesn't.
And his very first rule is a prime example. Stand up straight with your shoulders back.
I love that one.
Now, you might be thinking, wait, is this a self-help book or a posture manual? But trust me, there's more to it than meets the eye.
Yeah.
Peterson takes us on a really fascinating detour through the world of lobsters to illustrate this point.
What I love about this is how he connects lobster behavior to human psychology.
Yeah.
You see, lobsters, they have this really strict hierarchy, right?
Right.
The winners, the ones at the top, the ones that get the best resources, they actually display a more upright posture, and their serotonin levels are higher.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and serotonin is that brain chemical that's associated with confidence and well-being. So Peterson's argument is that this connection between posture and dominance, it's not just a lobster thing.
Right.
It's deeply ingrained in our biology as well.
I mean, so it's not just about, looking confident. It's about triggering this cascade of changes in our own brains and bodies.
Exactly.
So, our physical state can actually influence our mental state, which then impacts how we act and how others perceive us.
Yeah, it's a feedback loop.
It's a fascinating feedback loop.
It is, and it's backed up by research.
Really?
Studies have shown that even if you don't feel confident, if you adopt a confident posture, it can lead to increased feelings of power and self-assurance.
Like fake it till you make it.
It's kind of like that, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. That's something to ponder. Our physical presence has a much bigger impact on our lives than we might realize.
I think so.
But let's move on to rule #2. This one I found incredibly thought-provoking.
Yeah.
Treat yourself like someone you are responsible for helping. Now, on the surface, that might sound like a simple call for self-care.
Right.
But it goes much deeper than that.
It does.
Peterson connects this rule to the inherent flaws and imperfections that make us human. He draws a parallel to the Garden of Eden story.
Oh, interesting.
Suggesting that our capacity for both good and evil is deeply ingrained in our nature.
I love that you brought this up because I think it's important to kind of challenge that notion of flaws.
Right.
Yeah. These flaws, as they're often labeled, they're part of what makes us unique, right?
Yeah.
Complex beings. It's like the yin and yang, right? The darkness and the light coexist within us all. So instead of trying to strive for some unattainable idea of perfection, he's encouraging us to embrace, the totality of our being.
Yeah.
Acknowledge our strengths and our weaknesses.
I mean, that's a powerful shift in perspective. Instead of judging ourselves harshly for those shortcomings, we can learn to accept them as part of our human experience.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this self-compassion is essential for growth and well-being.
Yeah.
So then we can approach our own needs with the same care and concern that we would extend to someone we love.
And that brings us to rule #3. Which focuses on the impact of our social circle.
Yeah.
Peterson shares an anecdote about a childhood friend who got stuck in a rut, kind of dragged down by a group of less than ambitious companions.
Oh, yeah. It makes you think about the people you surround yourself with.
Yeah. And his advice is clear. Make friends with people who want the best for you.
That's a good one.
It's simple, but often overlooked, isn't it?
It is. We tend to underestimate how much our social environment influences us.
Right. It shapes our thoughts, beliefs, and behaviors.
Think about it this way. If you're always around people who are negative, cynical, complacent, it's going to be really hard to stay positive and want to grow personally.
Right.
But if you're surrounded by people who are supportive and encouraging and driven, their energy is going to rub off on you.
Yeah, like you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Exactly.
So it's worth taking a look at your social circle and asking, are these relationships helping me grow or are they holding me back?
And it's not about being exclusive or judgmental. It's about recognizing that some relationships are just better for growth than others.
Yeah. And we all need those people who challenge us, inspire us, believe in our potential. That leads us to rule #4, which is particularly relevant, I think, in today's age of social media and constant comparison.
Yeah.
Compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to who someone else is today.
It's so easy to fall into that trap.
Oh my gosh, right.
Especially with social media.
Yes.
Everyone's presenting this perfect curated version of themselves.
Right. You see people with a perfect job, perfect body, perfect life.
Exactly. And it makes us feel inadequate.
Yeah, but the truth is those images are often just facades.
Absolutely.
We're comparing ourselves to this idealized version of reality, not the messy, imperfect truth of someone else's life.
Yeah, it's a losing game.
It's a losing game.
It is.
So instead of focusing on what we lack compared to others, Peterson encourages us to shift our focus inward.
Love it.
To recognize our own progress, celebrate our small victories, and strive to be a little bit better each day.
It's about the journey, not the destination. That's where the fulfillment lies.
Okay, this next rule might ruffle some feathers, especially in today's parenting landscape, where the lines between parent and friend can be blurry.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
He says, do not let your children do anything that makes you dislike them.
Oh, wow.
Now, I know that sounds harsh, but bear with me.
Okay.
His point is that parents have a responsibility that goes beyond just being their child's buddy.
Right.
It's about setting boundaries, instilling values, and shaping them into responsible and well-adjusted adults.
Yeah, that's so important.
And he argues that children actually need those boundaries, even if they resist them in the moment. It provides a sense of structure and security.
And if they don't learn those lessons at home, they're going to learn them somewhere else.
Yeah.
And it might not be in such a loving environment.
That's true. So while it's important to be loving and supportive, it's also crucial to set those clear expectations and hold our children accountable for their actions.
It's about preparing them for the real world, not shielding them from every discomfort.
It's a tough balance, but it's essential for raising children who are both capable and kind.
Absolutely.
Now let's dive into rule #6.
Okay.
This is where Peterson tackles this really profound philosophical question. Set your house in perfect order before you criticize the world.
Oh, I love this one.
Right. So this challenges us to take a long, hard look in the mirror before we start pointing fingers at the injustices and imperfections of the world.
Absolutely.
He contrasts Tolstoy's view, which suggests that life is so inherently cruel that our only options are ignorance, pleasure, suicide, or just enduring it with a more empowering perspective.
I like that.
He uses this incredible story of Alexander Solzhenitsyn, who not only survived the horrors of the Soviet Gulag system, but emerged from that experience with a profound sense of meaning and purpose.
Incredible.
Even in the face of unimaginable suffering, he didn't succumb to despair or blame.
Yeah.
He chose to focus on what he could control, on cultivating his inner strength and finding meaning in his own life.
That's powerful.
So that's the crux of Peterson's argument. Before we judge the world, before we point fingers, we need to take responsibility for our own lives.
Yes.
It's about acknowledging our own shortcomings, making amends where necessary, and striving to create order within ourselves before we try to change the world around us.
It all starts with us.
It does.
It's self-reflection and personal accountability.
Yes, recognizing that we have more agency than we often realize, and true change starts from within.
Love it.
This brings us to rule #7.
Okay.
This is where Peterson explores the tension between instant gratification and the pursuit of long-term meaning.
Yeah.
He uses this humorous analogy.
Okay.
A monkey in a cookie jar.
I love his analogy.
You know, right?
Yeah.
So the monkey, so fixated on getting that cookie, shoves his hand in the jar, but gets stuck because he refuses to let go. And Peterson suggests that we're often like that monkey.
Yeah, I can see that.
We chase immediate pleasure without considering those long-term consequences.
That's so easy to do these days.
It is, right? We live in this world of instant gratification. We're bombarded with temptations that promise quick fixes and easy happiness.
Yes, absolutely.
But Peterson argues that true, lasting fulfillment comes from pursuing something more meaningful.
Right.
Something that requires effort, sacrifice, and delayed gratification.
I think of it like the difference between a sugar rush and a nourishing meal.
Yeah.
The sugar rush gives you a quick burst, but the meal sustains you.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
It's about recognizing that the things that really matter in life often require patience, discipline, a willingness to delay gratification.
Now let's dive into rule #8.
Okay.
Tell the truth, or at least don't lie. This might seem straightforward,
Yeah.
but Peterson goes deeper.
Oh.
He explores the concept of life lies.
But what's that?
Those stories we tell ourselves to avoid facing those uncomfortable truths.
Oh, I see.
He draws on Nietzsche's idea that what does not kill me makes me stronger,
Oh.
and suggests that our ability to handle the truth, even when it's painful, is a measure of our spiritual and psychological resilience.
That's deep.
So these life lies, while they might seem harmless in the short term, ultimately they undermine our growth and potential.
Oh, I see.
They keep us stuck in these patterns of self-deception and prevent us from confronting those challenges that are necessary for personal transformation.
So it's not just about avoiding lying to others.
Right.
It's about being honest with ourselves.
Yeah.
About our motivations and our weaknesses.
Our blind spots.
Yeah, all of it.
And embracing that discomfort of growth.
Yeah.
And recognizing that the truth, even if it's initially painful, ultimately sets us free.
I like that.
This brings us to rule #9,
Okay.
where Peterson shifts his focus to the art of conversation.
Oh, interesting.
He urges us to assume that the person you are listening to might know something you don't.
Oh, that's a good one.
This might seem obvious,
Yeah.
but in practice, we often approach conversations as opportunities to prove our own intelligence or to persuade others to see things our way.
Right. We've all been there.
He uses the example of Socrates, who famously claimed to know nothing.
Right.
And that humility allowed him to approach conversations as opportunities for genuine learning,
Yeah.
not as platforms for showcasing his brilliance.
I like that.
And this is where it gets really interesting. He offers this really simple but effective tip for becoming a better listener.
Okay. I'm listening.
Summarize what the other person has said before offering your own response.
Oh, that's good.
It seems so basic,
It does.
but how often do we actually do that?
Not often enough.
Right.
No.
We're so busy formulating our own responses that we don't truly listen to what the other person is saying.
That's so true.
So this simple act of summarizing forces us to slow down, pay attention, and make sure we've accurately understood the other person's perspective. It reduces those misinterpretations and fosters a sense of genuine connection and respect.
I like that.
This leads us to rule #10,
Yep.
where Peterson emphasizes the importance of precision in our language. He uses a relatable analogy, a car breaking down.
Okay.
When your car is running smoothly, you don't need to understand all the inner workings of the engine.
Right.
But when it breaks down, that lack of knowledge can leave you feeling helpless and overwhelmed.
Yeah, totally.
And that's his point. Clear, precise language is like having a toolbox.
Oh, interesting.
For life's challenges, it allows us to break down those complex situations, articulate our needs effectively, and find solutions to problems.
So it's not just about cars.
No, it applies to all areas of life.
Right.
Health, relationships, even just figuring out how to assemble that frustrating piece of furniture.
You've all been there.
We have. The ability to express ourselves clearly and understand others accurately is essential for navigating life's complexities.
Absolutely.
Okay, now this brings us to a potentially sensitive topic.
Okay.
Rule #11, where Peterson delves into the complexities of masculinity.
Interesting.
He cautions against demonizing all forms of masculinity, arguing that aggression, when channeled appropriately, can actually be a force for good.
Okay.
He uses the example of skateboarding, which often involves risk-taking, physical daring, and a certain degree of aggression,
Yeah.
and suggests that these activities can provide healthy outlets for male energy
Okay.
and contribute to valuable character traits like resilience and perseverance.
Interesting.
It's about recognizing that men, just like all humans, have a range of emotions and needs.
Right.
And suppressing those needs can lead to unhealthy consequences.
Yeah, makes sense.
So it's a call for nuance and understanding in a world that often seems eager to simplify these complex issues.
I like that.
And finally, we arrive at rule #12.
Oh, okay, the last one.
Pet a cat when you encounter one on the street.
Oh, that's cute.
Now, this might seem like this whimsical afterthought, but it's actually a really profound reminder to appreciate those small joys in life, even in the face of hardship. He shares a poignant story about his daughter's struggle with chronic pain.
Oh, wow.
To illustrate this point,
Okay.
he suggests that the hard parts of life, the suffering and setbacks, actually give meaning to the good moments.
Interesting.
It's like that Superman analogy. If he were invincible, his victories wouldn't be meaningful.
Right.
It's the challenge, the struggle, that makes the triumph worthwhile.
I like that.
So he's urging us to savor those moments of joy and gratitude, those small acts of kindness and beauty that often go unnoticed in the busyness of our lives.
So true.
It's about cultivating mindfulness and appreciation for the present moment.
Yeah.
Recognizing that happiness isn't some distant goal,
Right.
but something that can be found in the everyday, even in the midst of hardship.
Just those little sparks of joy, like petting a cat, that remind us of the goodness and beauty
that still exists in the world. And with that, we've covered the 12 rules. It's a lot to process.
Yeah, it is.
But I think the core message is that life is tough, but it's also filled with meaning and beauty if we choose to see it.
Right, it's a choice.
It is. It's a call to action, isn't it? He's challenging us to take responsibility for our lives, to strive for excellence, and to find meaning and purpose in a world that can often feel chaotic and overwhelming.
That's life for you.
That's life. So in part 2, we're going to delve deeper into some of the key themes that emerged.
Okay.
We'll explore those criticisms and controversies surrounding Peterson's work.
Interesting.
And offer some additional insights to help you apply these rules to your own life.
Awesome.
So stay tuned.
Welcome back to your deep dive into Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life.
We've covered a lot of ground, haven't we? These rules, they touch on so many aspects of life, like everything from our personal growth to our relationships, the way we think, how we interact with the world.
Yeah, and, as we go deeper into Peterson's work, you'll start to notice how he weaves together all these insights from psychology, philosophy, even mythology, religious texts.
Oh, yeah. It's fascinating.
It's this really unique blend of disciplines that makes his work so compelling.
Yeah.
And, let's be honest, a little controversial, too.
Yeah, I mean, going through these rules, I was struck by how he uses storytelling.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just dry academic stuff.
Right.
He brings these ideas to life with these vivid analogies, these captivating narratives.
Yeah, like think about that monkey in the cookie jar.
Yeah.
It's such a simple image, but it perfectly captures that human struggle with instant gratification, right?
Yeah, totally. We can all relate to that.
We can all relate to that feeling of being so fixated on something that we don't even see the bigger picture.
It's like he's tapping into these universal archetypes.
Yes.
These stories that have been passed down through generations to illuminate the human condition.
Exactly.
And it's not just entertaining. It's actually a very effective way to learn and remember these complex concepts.
Absolutely. Our brains are wired for stories.
Right.
We remember things better when they're embedded in a narrative, especially one that evokes emotions. And Peterson is a master at that, weaving those stories into his teachings.
Another thing that stood out to me was his emphasis on taking action.
Yeah.
It's not just armchair philosophy.
Right.
He wants us to actually implement these rules in our lives.
He does.
It's about taking responsibility for our own well-being, striving to become better versions of ourselves.
He's challenging us to step out of our comfort zones, right?
Yeah.
Confront our fears, actively create the kind of life that we want.
Yeah, and that can be really empowering.
It can. It really can.
Now, you mentioned earlier that his work can be a bit controversial.
It can be, yeah.
Why do you think that is?
Well, he often talks about traditional values,
Yeah.
personal responsibility, the importance of meaning and purpose, In a world that feels increasingly chaotic and uncertain. Right. And that message, it really appeals to some people.
Yeah, it's like he's providing this framework, a set of guidelines for navigating life's complexities.
Exactly.
And at a time when traditional institutions and belief systems are being questioned, that can be comforting for some.
It can be.
But for others, his views can feel outdated, rigid, even offensive.
He has been criticized for his stances on gender roles, political correctness, all those hot-button issues.
It's important to remember that Peterson is a complex thinker.
He is.
And his ideas, they can't be easily categorized or reduced to sound bites.
No, they can't.
He challenges conventional wisdom. And that inevitably sparks debate and disagreement.
Which is good.
Yeah.
I think it's healthy.
It is. It's healthy to engage with ideas that challenge our own beliefs.
Absolutely.
It forces us to think critically, examine our own assumptions, articulate our values more clearly.
One of the most valuable things about his work is that it encourages self-reflection.
Yeah.
He asks us to confront those uncomfortable questions about who we are, what we believe, what kind of impact we want to make on the world.
He doesn't shy away from the big questions
You don't know.
about meaning, purpose, responsibility.
Yeah, those are questions we all grapple with at some point.
We do. Okay, we've talked about the power of his storytelling, his emphasis on taking action, the controversies surrounding his work.
Right.
But let's circle back to the 12 rules.
Okay.
Are there any specific rules that you think are particularly relevant or challenging for people today?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
You know, I think rule #5, do not let your children do anything that makes you dislike them, is particularly relevant these days.
Yeah.
It challenges that idea that parents should always be their child's friend,
Right.
emphasizing the importance of setting boundaries, instilling values.
It's a tough one, isn't it?
It is.
We want our kids to like us,
Of course.
but we also have a responsibility to guide them, teach them right from wrong,
Right.
prepare them for adulthood.
Exactly. And sometimes that means making tough choices.
Yeah.
Choices that might not be popular at the time.
Yeah, it's about recognizing that love and discipline aren't mutually exclusive.
They're not.
True love often requires setting those boundaries, holding our children accountable.
And I think that rule, it goes beyond parenting too.
Oh, yeah.
It applies to all relationships,
Right.
friends, family, romantic partners.
Setting healthy boundaries.
Yeah,
It's about recognizing that our own needs and values matter.
they do.
And it's okay to say no when someone is crossing a line.
Absolutely. Now, another rule that I find particularly relevant is rule #6. Set your house in perfect order before you criticize the world.
It's a call for self-reflection,
It is.
personal accountability.
Yeah, before we start pointing fingers at others.
It's about recognizing that we all have flaws and shortcomings.
We do.
And it's kind of hypocritical to judge others harshly when we haven't addressed our own issues.
Yeah, we gotta look in the mirror first.
Yeah, and it's not about being perfect
No.
or pretending we don't have problems.
Right.
It's about taking ownership of those problems.
Yes.
Working to improve ourselves, striving to be the best versions of ourselves
Yeah.
before we try to change the world.
It all starts with us.
It does. True change starts from within.
Now, rule #7, pursue what is meaningful, not what is expedient. That one's a challenge,
Oh, it is.
especially in today's world.
Right. With instant gratification everywhere.
Everywhere, we're constantly bombarded with messages telling us to seek pleasure, avoid discomfort, take the easy path.
Right. Just do what feels good.
Yeah.
But Peterson says true fulfillment comes from pursuing something more meaningful.
It does.
Something that requires effort, sacrifice, delayed gratification.
And that can be tough.
It is. In a world that values instant gratification.
It is tough, but deep down, I think we all crave that sense of meaning and purpose.
We do.
We want our lives to count for something.
Yeah, and finding that meaning often involves stepping outside of our comfort zones, embracing those challenges, committing to something larger than ourselves.
Absolutely. Now let's talk about his writing style.
Okay.
He's known for his intellectual rigor,
Yeah.
his ability to connect seemingly disparate ideas,
Yeah.
but he can also be quite dense,
He can be.
challenging to read.
His work requires effort and attention.
It does. It's not something you can just passively skim through.
No, he expects you to engage with the material,
He does.
wrestle with the ideas, come to your own conclusions.
And I think that's part of what makes it so rewarding.
It is.
It's not just about being entertained.
Right.
It's about being challenged
Yeah.
intellectually and emotionally.
He forces us to think deeply about ourselves,
He does.
about our place in the world, about those big questions that have plagued philosophers and theologians for centuries.
I think that's why he's attracted such a diverse following.
Yeah.
People from all walks of life are drawn to his work.
They are. They're searching for meaning, purpose, a sense of direction.
In a world that can often feel confusing and overwhelming,
Yeah.
he offers a framework for understanding ourselves and the world around us.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be so valuable in these times.
It can, but let's not shy away from those criticisms.
Yeah, we can't.
He's been accused of being sexist, racist, transphobic, politically reactionary.
It's important to acknowledge those criticisms.
Yes.
To recognize that his views on certain issues have sparked legitimate concerns,
Yeah.
hurt feelings.
We need to be sensitive to those concerns.
Absolutely.
Engage in these conversations with respect and empathy.
Yeah, and remember, he's a product of his time,
Right.
his own experiences.
His views have been shaped by his upbringing, his academic background, his own struggles with mental health.
Oh.
It's tempting to just dismiss him.
Right.
or label him as simply good or bad.
Yeah, but it's more nuanced than that.
I think it's possible to appreciate his work while also acknowledging that some of his views are problematic and harmful.
It's okay to disagree with him.
Yeah.
Challenge his ideas.
Hold him accountable.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I think the value of his work lies in its ability to spark conversations.
Right.
Challenge those assumptions. Encourage us to think critically about the world.
And that's a valuable contribution.
It is.
Even if we don't agree with everything he says.
I'm curious, what do you think is the most common misconception people have about him?
That's interesting. I think one of the most common misconceptions is that he's just a self-help guru.
Oh, interesting.
Peddling these easy answers to life's problems.
Yeah.
But his work is much more nuanced than that.
Yeah, he's not afraid to tackle those tough subjects. He doesn't offer any quick fixes or simplistic solutions.
It's about doing the hard work.
Yeah.
Self-reflection.
Confronting our limitations. Striving for meaning and purpose in a world that can often feel meaningless.
He's more of a philosophical guide.
Yeah, I like that.
Than a self-help guru.
He's asking us to think deeply about the big questions of life. Take responsibility for our choices and actions.
Now, another common criticism is that he's too focused on individual responsibility and doesn't really address those systemic issues that contribute to suffering and inequality.
It's a valid criticism.
It is.
He does tend to emphasize individual agency and personal accountability, which are important.
They are.
But they don't tell the whole story.
Right. We can't ignore the impact of social, economic, and political structures on people's lives.
Absolutely not.
And we need to work to create a more just and equitable society that provides opportunities for everyone to thrive.
I think it's possible to embrace his focus on personal responsibility while also recognizing that need for systemic change. It's not an either.
It's not.
We can work on ourselves while also working to create a better world.
Exactly. I think that's an important message for us all.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
We have.
We've explored those core principles of his 12 rules, delved into those controversies, examined the criticisms.
Yeah.
But before we wrap up part 2, I want to shift our focus back to you, the listener.
Yes, let's bring it back to your personal journey.
What's resonating with you most strongly from what we've discussed so far?
Yeah, is there a particular rule that speaks to you?
Or a specific insight that you're finding helpful?
Take a moment to reflect on what you've heard and how it might apply to your own life.
We'll continue this conversation in part 3.
Yes.
Where we'll explore some practical applications of Peterson's ideas.
I like it.
And discuss some strategies for integrating these rules into your daily life.
Sounds good.
We'll also delve deeper into the philosophical underpinnings of his work and examine some of the broader implications of his ideas for society as a whole.
All right, so until then,
keep those thoughts percolating.
We'll be back soon to continue this exploration of Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life.
Welcome back to the final part of your deep dive into Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life.
It's been quite a journey.
It has. We've explored the core principles, wrestled with the controversies, and even touched on some of those personal reflections.
Yeah.
And now in this final part, I'm really eager to explore how we can actually put these ideas into practice.
Yeah, let's talk about how to integrate these rules into our daily lives.
Yeah.
And maybe spark some positive change in the world.
You know, one of the things that struck me about Peterson's work is that it's not just about self-improvement. It's also about taking responsibility for our role in society.
I like that.
He challenges us to think about how our actions impact others.
Yeah.
And to strive to make a positive contribution.
Right.
And that can feel daunting, can't it?
It can.
Especially in a world with so many complex problems.
Yeah, it's easy to feel overwhelmed.
Right.
Like our individual efforts don't really matter.
But Peterson argues that even small acts of kindness, courage, integrity, they can have a ripple effect.
Yeah.
Think about rule #12, pet a cat, when you encounter one on the street.
It seems so simple.
Right.
But it's a good reminder to appreciate the little things. Yeah. Find joy in the everyday. Spread a little bit of goodness.
Yeah. And those small acts of goodness can add up.
Absolutely.
Create a more compassionate and humane world.
That's the hope.
So let's talk about some practical strategies for integrating these rules into our daily lives.
Yeah.
I think one of the most powerful tools Peterson offers is this practice of self-reflection.
Oh, yeah.
He encourages us to regularly ask ourselves those tough questions like, how am I wrong?
Yeah.
What could I be doing better?
It's about being honest with ourselves,
Yeah.
about our strengths and weaknesses, and just always trying to improve.
And that can be uncomfortable.
It can be. Yeah, no one likes to admit their flaws.
But it's in those moments of self-honesty that we open ourselves up to growth and transformation.
That's when the real growth happens.
Another practical tip is the importance of setting clear goals, taking consistent action.
Right.
He emphasizes the power of small, incremental steps.
Yes.
Arguing that even seemingly insignificant actions, they can lead to significant results over time.
It's a compound effect.
It is. It's breaking down those big, overwhelming goals into those manageable chunks and showing up each day and doing the work.
That's how you get it done.
And that's where discipline and perseverance come into play. He argues that these are like muscles.
Oh, interesting.
That need to be exercised regularly.
I like that.
The more we practice self-control and stick to our commitments,
the
stronger those muscles become.
What are some specific actions our listeners can take, like today, to start integrating these rules?
Well, I think one simple but powerful step is to start paying attention to your posture.
Oh, yeah.
Remember, rule #1, stand up straight with your shoulders back.
It's a good one.
It's not just about physical appearance.
Right.
It's about cultivating a sense of confidence and self-respect.
So, straighten that spine.
Yeah.
Lift your chin.
Make eye contact.
Yes.
You might be surprised by the distance it makes in your energy levels and how others perceive you.
Another practical step is to really focus on improving your communication skills.
Yeah. Remember rule #9.
Assume that the person you are listening to might know something you don't.
Practice active listening. Ask clarifying questions.
Yeah.
Make an effort to truly understand the other person's perspective.
Right.
This can transform your relationships.
Absolutely, both personal and professional.
Now, what about rule #2? Treat yourself like someone you are responsible for helping.
That's a good one.
This is a call to prioritize self-care. Treat ourselves with that same compassion and kindness that we would extend to a loved one.
What are some small acts of self-care?
Yeah. What could you incorporate into your daily routine? Could be something as simple as taking a few minutes each day to meditate, read a book, take a walk in nature.
All good things.
Maybe setting aside time for a hobby you enjoy,
Right.
or treating yourself to a nourishing meal.
Those are good ideas.
The key is to make that conscious effort to prioritize your well-being.
Make yourself a priority.
Yeah.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
I want to leave you with one final thought-provoking question.
Okay, I like it.
So remember Peterson's emphasis on finding meaning and purpose?
Yes.
I ask you this. What is one thing you can do today, no matter how small, to make the world a slightly better place?
That's a good one.
Could be a simple act of kindness.
Yeah.
A donation to a worthy cause. Maybe just a commitment to be a little more patient, understanding in your interactions.
Yeah, it's recognizing that we all have that power
We do.
to make a positive impact.
Even in small ways.
Even in those small ways, as we strive to embody these 12 rules, let's remember Peterson's advice.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
Be precise in your speech.
Oh, that's a good word.
Choose your words carefully. Speak your truth with courage.
Yes.
And listen with an open heart.
And never stop learning and growing.
Yes.
Striving to be the best version of yourself.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive
It's been fun.
into Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life.
Yeah, this was a good one.
It was, may this exploration inspire you to live a more meaningful, purposeful, and fulfilling life.
Absolutely.
Until next time, keep diving deep.
And remember, you got this.